24th, and it is 5 o'clock. Madam Clerk, if I can get you to call the roll, please.
Gary Paytag.
Here.
And then
I'm here.
Samuel Hall.
Here.
Jeffrey Jones.
Here.
And Francis Pawlowski, currently absent. Art Graham.
Here. And if you would, if Ms. Pawlowski comes in, just mark her here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, we need removal of the minutes for the special meeting on December 17th and a special meeting on January 21st. If there's no changes, I can entertain a motion.
I'd like to entertain a motion, offer a motion for the December special meeting.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and second for the approval of the special meeting December 17th.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I may, I'm going to abstain from that vote since I was not a member of the board at that time.
Okay.
I was just abstaining.
Okay. We have a motion and a second approval of that special meeting on the 17th. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? By action to approve that motion. All right, special meeting January the 21st. Entertain a motion.
Also moved.
Second motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? By action, you've approved that motion. We have the approval of the regular meeting, January the 27th, if I can entertain a motion.
I so move that we accept the minutes from the January regular meeting.
And a second.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? By action, you've approved all 3 sets of those meetings. All right, let's go to Downtown Cape.
Mark Evans, Commander of Jackson Police Department. And as far as what we talked about in the past few meetings, we're going to have a workshop later regarding the possible delivery.
Yes.
We'll be talking about some of the options with that. As far as with our officers, we're excited. We'll be adding a new Cape officer to fill one of the vacant positions March 1st. We've been waiting for some of our patrol numbers to come up. We've got some people coming out of training, so we've got a new one starting on March the 1st. We're slated for the second opening to be moved into Downtown Cape on April the 1st, and then we're hoping to follow up in May with our third and final position, so we'll have all of our vacancies filled. This all rides on our people coming out of training and a couple of hires that we're looking at doing.
Any craziness happened this weekend? Because I know we have a festival that's both Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, nothing that I know of. I know the weather wasn't as good on Saturday as it was on Sunday. As far as the major things, none that was noted. We've got the after action plan will be coming out, and the deadline's for tomorrow afternoon. So I was contacted on that this weekend.
Okay. Jeff, you have a question?
No.
Gary.
Yes, sir. Commander, would you be able to talk to about the conference that Sergeant Sharp is going to this coming, I believe it's this coming weekend?
Yes, all I can say is that it is on the it falls in line with our Cape, with our Downtown Cape plan of action, business plan type. It's the first. I know we had money that was slotted for the training. I've had myself and Chief Smith looked at the outline of the training, but I don't remember exactly what it is. I know it's out of state, so he'll be flying out and he'll be returning. I want to say next Tuesday.
Right. I was just introduced to this organization the other day, and after looking at it a little bit more, it was really kind of interesting. I don't know enough about it, but it goes more into than just policing. It gets into the economics of how you manage a downtown development and things that have worked and things that have not worked. It's a pretty unique organization. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of it. It's something, it's a resource hospitality, something or other.
Yeah, and I can tell you that prior to me taking over at the command level for Downtown Cape, Sergeant Smith, I believe, went to a couple of the conferences. They're not week or 10-day long. They're usually 3 or 4 days, maybe 5 at the longest. I do know that we've had some prior sergeants that have attended training with that organization. I know that our Chief Smith, was familiar with the organization as well. So we're excited to get someone back in there because this will be the first formal training of that type that Sergeant Sharp is going to.
I guess I really just wanted to make the board aware of it because it seems like it has some unique resources that we could use that might help us in the work that we're trying to do in the downtown district, particularly as it relates to the economics and so forth of what makes a viable downtown, that type of thing.
Absolutely, and what I can do is I can get the information packet from the training school, and when Sergeant Sharp comes back, he'll be at our next meeting, and I can prepare him, and he can speak a little bit about the organization and what his takeaways were from.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Old business. Mr. Gay, come on up here.
Scott Gay, 814 North First Street, number 101. I was here at the previous meeting to discuss my company leasing the vacant lot CRE owns at the corner of 2nd Street, 4th Avenue North. And Bill invited me to come back and bring a letter with some bullet points that maybe we talked from, or at least a starting point. So I did that, and those are going to be passed out right now. Since I was here last, I think we've been working with our contractor and looking at probably 18 months construction rather than 24. And then part of that 18 months, the building will be built, so I wouldn't really need the lot at that point. I probably would only need the lot for maybe 8 to 10 months. So you can read what I just put some terms together that I thought would be interesting. I'll address the insurance, the fencing, all, whatever rules that I need to follow, and I just want to entertain or make the request and see what your thoughts may be.
When are you looking to start?
Probably art break ground in 3 months. We got probably another month of permitting stuff with the city, and then probably a month or 6 weeks of going through loan underwriting, finalizing that since we've got the permit now, and then mobilization, so I figure 3 months.
So like June 1st?
That'll work.
Okay. Questions, concerns, comments?
I have a question for Bill about this, if
Sure,
that's
sure,
okay.
sure.
Bill, do we have any other lots in the downtown area that are available for us to utilize that's not already paved?
No, ma'am, not to my knowledge. And the only one that would have possibly been available would be the portion of the pier parking lot that's now being taken over by the pier construction contractors, and we can't afford to lock up the rest of that lot.
The only reason I'm asking is because later on when we're talking about some other old business when it comes to staffing and getting us some assistance, I had an idea, and that would be the only hiccup to me voting on this. So,
What idea are you talking about?
well, and I'm sorry I'm taking, but this is so you hear. I am a very vocal person as far as when it comes to us getting some assistance. Bill Maynard has nothing to do with you. You're doing way too much for one person. So I just want to make that very clear that I'm not saying this directly to you. So I did go to council. I did tell them that I'm getting extremely impatient. And it's been a year, it's been since November since we saw the outline. And so I've been coming up with some creative ideas for us to take care of ourselves, either just getting outside contractors ourselves, because we can legally do that, or getting portable offices and placing in one of our properties, so we can't keep getting the thing that we don't have space. If we provide them space, that can't be the excuse anymore. So that was one of my thoughts. So I did go and find out how much it would cost to get these. They're anywhere between $200, $900, you'd probably be more like $900 a month to rent them. And we can place them on a lot, and we'd have a whole bunch of city workspace that our people could work in. And if that's the only lot we have, that would be my only hiccup into saying yes, or maybe it's partially, we can have one space for one trailer. That's where I'm going at, because I don't feel like the wheels are turning, so maybe Bill, you can maybe update us as to where that stands.
Where that stands is pretty much as you typified. We're making sure we have space to put that person because I just hired my last open available staff right now. My office is full. Right now, we're undergoing a utilization study for the, I forget, we call it the records building, but I think Jacksonville's rescue squad units across the street, across the avenue from fire station number 1. And they're doing a feasibility, we're having an architect do a feasibility study for that building. Once it's costed out, if that is viable, then perhaps the fire marshal and his yet to be assigned assistant yet would go into that space, and that would free up at least 1, probably 2 cubicles in my office.
But that means
That's
to
where we
fill it
are.
out, that's years. So, and my thought was, okay, and then my thought was maybe we have to supply them the space. If we have to supply them the space, then we may have to figure out a time frame or a shared space or whatever, how much exact space you would need, because that's the only lot we have it, or if there's another place to put it. Or unless we can put this down in the south end, one of the two. And then I was also going to ask you, and we can talk about it later when we discuss the actual position. I'm thinking maybe my understanding of that position is not as robust as what you guys may be wanting, so I did some research on what might be a good person or peoples for that position. But that's my only hiccup for this specific item. I'm kind of feeling like if we're constantly getting hit with, well, we just don't have space, the way around it is to provide the space. And I'm thinking, this is the only way we can do it, other than hiring an outside consultant altogether without having to use city ones. I don't know how that would work per se, that's where I'm at.
Actually, I think it's a great idea. I think worst case scenario, if we needed to, we can sacrifice 2 parking spaces and drop one of those things in there. I hate to hold these guys up if that's the only concern, because I think we can find a spot for that.
And that's why I'm asking the question, is there another spot we can put this? Originally, I was thinking it had to be a non-developed lot, but if it can be a developed lot and there's no issue with that, I would be fine, but that is an alternative.
Okay, is this Jeff?
Yeah, I was just echo what you were saying, that, we can put those anywhere, and I don't think we necessarily need to, use that vacant lot, and I can see all sorts of other issues with, how do you even, you run utilities and things like that, to a lot that's completely vacant. And also, I think we also, there's gotta be some offices for rent, they building across the street and our building, I don't think it will be that difficult if that's the route we want to go to find a space. So.
If I can piggyback, I did talk to a couple different buildings as well, people that own buildings around the area. I found office space, 100,000 to 1,500 square foot, and they were running about $2,000 a month. Is what they were running. So I figured this was a more cost-efficient way since we already own the property as well. But I did check. I found 3 properties that would have lent space out to us.
Any other questions of Scott?
Yes, one, does it have to be a paved over lot already?
No, I heard Francis say the paved lot, I'm not interested in, I want the one with the palm trees on it, the grass.
Oh, okay, I'm clear on that.
The vacant, the unimproved lot, I should say.
This is the lot that just, through the chair, this is the lot that just came freed up from the A1A North Water Main Extension project that was done for the city.
Yes. Yeah.
It's my understanding that Bill was going to work on some kind of agreement based on what you've done in the past that would be acceptable to both parties. Is that underway at this point?
Actually, we have a standard construction use permit. The only thing that I thought I was asked was what the prices were.
Yeah, you said this price was in line, correct?
Okay. Achilles 3 in 2007 and 2008, they paid $1,800 a month for roughly 32,000 square feet. Oh, excuse me, that's 18 months, so it's $32,000. And that was for the 7th Avenue North Street end. Without going through the specific projects, I've got one in 2003, 2004 was $1,500 a month for an 18-month time period. That was the 11th Avenue North Street end. Margaritaville is currently paying $2,000 a month for, theirs is quantified as 34 spaces. I was trying to do apples and oranges comparison for square footages, but their proposal is not outlined given the square footage.
It's not that line.
No, sir. It kind of, there's not a standard number. It's $1,000, one's $1,500, one's $1,800. Margaritaville is $2,040 a month. Theirs was a little bit different because they calculated it based on the number of parking spaces that were being usurped versus the
When's the
square
last time
footage.
you leased it out? Or did we always just?
Well, that's a current lease now. Oh, the last time, no, the last two CRA lot uses were for city projects, and it was kind of redundant to charge the contractor who's just gonna turn around and build that into the cost that they charge us, so they were not charged for that because they were public projects. And I couldn't find any other private uses of the projects. It's used for the air show, for civic event, for COJ or our police department, but we haven't found a commercial entity. I can't find a commercial entity that's used that space that wasn't for a city project.
So if this board decides to approve this, then you're gonna just basically draw up the actual contract?
Yes, sir, I've got a copy. I didn't bring one with me, but we do have a copy. It's a standard contract that Public Works lets out. It's over public right away, so it's the purview of the Public Works Department.
Is there anybody that's against taking a vote on this tonight? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to accept the terms on this offer.
I'll motion.
And it's allowing, Bill, the city to
To go into contract.
to draft it, the legalese into a contract?
Does that mean that they would officially be able to start right away then, right? Like, is that
Yeah.
what that was going to be again? I would vote to let them just do their business and we won't have to address it again. That's what I would, like to vote for.
Does that mean we get to start billing you on June 1st?
Sure. Well, it's contingent on getting a building permit.
We can work that contingency, and I'm looking at this Public Works project engineer because the Public Works Department will issue this temporary construction use permit, and they're well versed in how to get them out.
Okay.
We can talk later, right? I'll talk with staff afterwards,
So I would motion for us to make a vote to where we don't have to address it again. We just know they're going to do business and we're fine with them using the lot.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
No,
Gary?
not second.
Not second.
No second.
I second.
Okay.
Oh,
Just a question, based on the information that Bill just put forth about the monthly rental rates, are we saying that we're going to accept this $150 a month versus the $1,500 to $1,800 that he mentioned?
The ones that you were mentioning were street endings, which are, in my opinion, bigger area.
and they also displace public parking.
Unless you have a different proposal. He just said that his number was online.
Already made a proposal, I mean,
Well, it's a motion to second.
We haven't voted
That
yet.
doesn't mean you can't amend it, that doesn't mean we can't vote it down.
well, from my perspective, I would think that $1,500 a month is more appropriate.
And there is,
The size of the lot, because Margaritaville is only taking up a portion of that lot, right, at the end zone?
Yeah, they're taking roughly 2/3 of it. There are several public spaces still available in that street end, and there's also the access to Aquila Street to the north that had to be maintained, and there's also a pedestrian walkway that's maintained to the beach. I don't know what the exact square footage of that parcel is, though. I do know that the CRA lot's 13,300 square feet in area. And an entire street end is 16,000 square feet in area, so.
The what is, I'm sorry?
A full street end, a full 80-foot wide, one of the avenue ends to the beach, they're typically 16,000 square feet, so they're a little larger than the CRA lot.
so you're offering that amendment?
Well, again, I would propose $1,500 a month.
Is there a second for that amendment of $1,500 a month? You died from lack of a second. We still have on the floor, the current proposal in front of us, been motioned in second. Any other discussion? Seeing no, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Gary Maytow,
Yes.
Samuel Hall,
Yes.
Jeffrey Jones,
Yes.
Francis Pavlovsky,
Yes.
and Art Graham.
Yes. By action, you've approved the Francis motion. Do well.
Thank you very much.
All right, new business, Mr. Mann.
You catch up 1 second, sir. Yes, sir, we have one item of new business for action tonight. It is Resolution 2020-01. Resolution 2020-01. This resolution amends the FY 1920 capital improvements budget for the south end. to appropriate $28,132 in TIF funds from the South End Development Trust Fund for additional services under the current Ocean Terrace Drainage Improvements Project contract with the Hanson Engineering Firm to add the design of a multi-purpose path into the overall project scope. In the first several weeks after the new city manager was hired, he and I discussed the concept of east-west connectivity in the city overall and how to help people living in the western portions of the city get to the beach and to commercial areas along 3rd Street. In the south end, the major opportunity to enhance that connectivity for both cyclists and pedestrians is the Jacksonville Drive corridor. Towards that end, I asked the Public Works project engineer, who is here tonight, to obtain a quote from our engineering consultant, Hanson, to include the design of a multi-purpose path along the extent of Jacksonville Drive that they were already designing for the requested stormwater infrastructure improvements. And there's an aerial photograph in your package that just shows the extents of Jacksonville Drive. I'm sorry, I can't see. The other section of Jacksonville Drive between South Beach Parkway and State Road A1A, and that should say the other section within the South End District, currently has a sidewalk on its north side, and there appears to be adequate room within that section of right-of-way to widen it to act more as a multi-purpose trail. This would be a separate project and one which could most likely be designed by city staff. Once pedestrians and cyclists get east of A1A and Ponte Vedra Boulevard, the opportunity and need for a wider path diminishes as the route to the beach at that point is through a low-speed local street, 36th Avenue South. And based on all that, staff recommends approval of Resolution 2020-01. And I'm going to turn it over to Cale Moore, who's our Public Works project engineer, to describe it and answer any questions you may have.
Hello, I'm Cale Moore, Public Works Project Engineer. I think you got a pretty good description of it there. It's a 8-foot multi-use path for bicycle and pedestrian activities, walking, strollers. And this portion, since we're already doing a current design project for stormwater primarily with also some roadway improvements along Jacksonville Drive, it was a good opportunity. We're already putting a small sidewalk on the keeping the sidewalk on the north, putting a standard sidewalk on the south as we can fit it in. So this was a great opportunity to see about expanding that into a multi-use path. There's a difference in classification and obviously the functionality of an official 8-foot wide multi-use path versus a 5-foot or even a 6-foot sidewalk. So right now the plan is to put that on the south side of Jacksonville Drive. We would like to put it on the north side, but there are some constraints as far as elevation and driveways. However, we will have the consultant reevaluate in the beginning preliminary design part of this if we can get that path on the north side. But just to give you a heads up, most likely we're looking at the south side with a crossing from the south side of Jacksonville Drive to the north side of Jacksonville Drive on the west side of South Beach. There is a traffic light there. It is a safe crossing. It's just could be seen as a little bit of an inconvenience, but due to the constraints on the ground and the roadway and that corridor, it will likely be on the south, then cross over, and then in the future, 8-foot wide expanded path on the north side of Jacksonville Drive out to 3rd.
My #1 question was, why are we doing it on the south side and not the north side of that road? I was just assuming because that's where all the drainage is going, on the south side of that road.
Well, the drainage, a lot of drainage on the south side. One of the big issues is, to meet ADA requirements, you have a certain side-to-side slope and a certain lateral slope on sidewalks. And in order to achieve that, everywhere you cross a driveway, the driveway also has to be redone at that small, like 2-degree or less slope. And we have some elevations ramping up from the road, the curb, back of curb elevation toward the houses. So when you start to get house by house by house and you look at what you have to do to accommodate 8-foot wide path into the right of way toward that house, we would be redoing all of those driveways and potentially cutting into what is right of way, but still all of these front yards. And some areas may have such an extreme cut that would require small walls, like retaining walls. It's a lot more engineering issues with that. So as I said, I have asked them, the consultant, to do, assume this is approved, to provide us with a 30% deliverable, which is usually not that standard, but it's more of a conceptual preliminary design. And as they're building up to that 30%, we're gonna have them reevaluate the north side and possibly even take it to that 30% design, so we can really look at it and see how feasible or infeasible it is. Our expectation it would be the south. We can come back to you at that time, depending on timing, try not to extend the design of the project. We're already at 90% on the overall project, so we're kind of going back. But if it's that important to you, we could come back and show you what that 30% might look like, that 8-foot path on the north might look like.
But the overall project's already gonna be on the south side of that road, correct?
The overall project's on the south side, but it is involving basically redoing the entire roadway.
Yeah, but
Because we're dealing with new curbing to replace the curbing on the north side, both lanes of asphalt. The majority of our digging and work is on the south side.
I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I don't see the need of necessity to tear up both sides of the road. If you're already turning up the south side of the road, you might as well, when you're building on it, you might as well.
There will be some work on the north side where it involves new drainage structures and any grading, so I can't tell you how much that impacts the existing sidewalk. It might not touch it at all in some areas, and it might completely tear it up for a half a block in another area. I'd like to tell you we're not touching the north side at all, but then you find out we did a little bit. So.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you. This is a great step in the right direction as it relates to what the city has been talking about as being a vision, trying to get access for pedestrians from the west side of the city over to the east side. This is, I think, the first project that I'm seeing done in the city like this, which I think we really want to be careful. We want to make sure that we've got a designer on board that is going to take a look at this and maybe develop this as a standard that can be used throughout the city as we move forward and start to take a look at the development of pedestrian ways throughout the city. So I hope that, we're not just looking at it as Jacksonville Drive, but how does this get implemented throughout the city as we move forward? I would encourage you, I don't know why we have the future phase. I would just say, let's do it all. Let's start at America Boulevard or America Avenue and take it all the way through, including the north side of Jacksonville Drive on the east side of South Beach, because why don't we make this a showcase piece for the city and show everyone what we can do and what we would like to see implemented. Along with that, we've got an opportunity at the intersection of Jacksonville Drive and South Beach, the southwest corner, which is property owned by the CRA, which is sitting dormant right now. It would be fantastic if we could take that and develop it into a small mini park of some sort and tie that path into it, a place for people to go to sit, maybe a small path for kids to ride their tricycles and things to that extent. There's a lot of opportunity here, and I want us to take full advantage of it as long as we're going to do this.
I agree, and I know Bill's talked about that little park, and we might be able, we're hoping we can tie that in the planning of this, and this is, to my knowledge, I've been here a little less than 2 years, but to my knowledge, this is the first time, we've tried to incorporate this type of a pedestrian access or corridor into one of our projects, and it is a good opportunity, and we're excited about it in Public Works as well, because it allows us to coordinate something like this along with some other work activities, and then hopefully not come back, after we do a project and tear the road up and do something different. As far as that future phase, the reason we will almost certainly, or prefer, let me say, we prefer not to construct it along with this, is because we anticipate a subsequent phase of the drainage project that we could not address with the first phase. We need to get the first phase in place. And there's another portion of that Ocean Terrace neighborhood and basin that we would like to also drain to the east and pull back off of Lake Sanctuary, which was the original intent of the study and our objectives. So that's on the heels within a year to 2 years. And timing-wise, it's a little complicated, but we couldn't do the whole thing at once. And if we were to do that 2 block or block and a half of that sidewalk, then we would certainly be tearing it up a year and a half later to put underground drainage infrastructure in there that we do not currently have designed.
Right, and I appreciate that part of it, but I didn't understand that there
Right,
was some future engineering that needed to be done in that area.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I didn't make that clear. We do want them to at least get most of the way through that design to sanctuary, primarily because we didn't want to find out for some reason a year later that there was an impediment to extending that sidewalk down there after we had already designed and started constructing the other part.
The only thing is, I want to make sure we don't lose sight of that, because there are a lot of people from Sanctuary that use Jacksonville Drive as their access to the beach and so forth, particularly on bicycle.
Understood.
And, it really makes sense to extend it all the way down.
We will have the design as inclusive as we and the design engineers, consultants feel is appropriate at this stage, and then roll almost immediately once we lock down construction of phase 1. Shortly thereafter, hopefully lock down, the design efforts for the subsequent phase, which will include taking that to full 100% design specifications and then follow up with construction as well. On the other section of Jacksonville Drive, we've talked about it. We think we might want to do that part in-house, but we would do it based on the design of this section, and we should be able to time that out to have it constructed by the same contractor. We could potentially have that integrated into the same bid, or a parallel bid for just the sidewalk.
That would be fantastic. I just want to make sure it gets done all at the same time, that we don't do one segment and 2 years later.
We want to do that to the extent that we can.
It'd be nice to get it all completed as part of it. I know that Public Works is stretched in what they're doing, and if it makes more sense for the consultant to do it, let's get the consultants to do it and move forward. And I would ask you to, you mentioned it, and the same concern I had, once you get to Jacksonville Drive and South Beach, from that south pedestrian way, you're going to have to cross Jacksonville Drive to pick up the north sidewalks and pedestrian way, because if you go straight across, there's no sidewalks on the other side. So we need to make sure that it's as well marked and defined as possible at that intersection, because it is a significant intersection, a lot of traffic in both directions, and I want to make sure that we provide the access for the pedestrians that we can.
Yes, sir, and that's a big part of the reason also why for this section especially that we're looking to have the consultant added onto their design to make sure that we're addressing all the safety issues, all the ADA compliant issues, all the utility relocations. And we're also going to be coordinating with Beaches Energy in-house on this with their transmission lines along Jacksonville Drive, and I think there's an opportunity for us to work there and make it a nicer project. That's all I'll say. Francis?
I would like to piggyback a little bit on Gary, but I am a big advocate of moving to the right, and a big part of the reason why to the right of the street, the north of the street, because it is parallel with Jack's Beach. But looks like here's only 4 driveways. I mean, this is an aerial view, so I'm not quite sure how many. But later on in our discussions, I am planning to propose that we make a formal request to the city of Jacksonville to turn that greenway that they own, that land they own against South Beach Parkway, that they absorb so there wouldn't be cars going in and out of that area. And hopefully we can propose that we put like a memorial park there for that program they have, with pavers and paths and what have you. And I would like to recommend that we, as a CRA board, donate our lot for the parking to support that memorial park. And if we do that, and you see that that's a park on the right-hand side or the north side of Jacksonville Drive, and the parking's on the left, it would make more biking sense to have it, the drive or the sidewalk on the north side, because it would dump into our memorial park, which would then dump right across the street, and you would have all that intersection where all the turning cars are, and the barricades in the middle of the street. So that's something I want to talk to you guys about later, because I do have paperwork on creating that, and it's something I would talk to you about, Bill, about how to propose that to the city. But in my opinion, I'm for this. I would like to see it on the north side, because bigger, broader picture, I would like for us as a board to recommend and make a recommendation for them to use that land for Memorial Park. If we donate our land for parking to support that, and since they had that new platform in place, I think it'd be a great opportunity for us to utilize that space.
When you say that platform, you're talking?
They just started that whole, you buy a bench, or you can buy a brick, or.
Oh, for us, Jacksonville Beach,
For
not Jacksonville,
Beach.
okay.
For Jacksonville, but if we Jacksonville Beach, we can do it, or we can maybe even make it historical if we wanted to, make it with the Carver Center, do pillars, that's something we can talk about later, but if you look at the picture, and you look at it, this whole space, they bought that because they didn't want cars backing, they want driveways on that street, on South Beach, so they bought it, so there's no development there, so it's just wasted, non-utilized space, and our park is so small, we can't even do tricycle circle there, it's like one little thing, so in my opinion, we should use our lot to support a bigger visual experience, and then that would encourage the biking on the right-hand side, that's just my feeling. Thanks,
Sam?
Yes, I was looking at the cost of this, and there's like a 15% contingency. Usually there's a 10% contingency on projects, and is there a reason for the increase?
I can address that. Number one, because the contingency for the existing project, due to the need for additional surveys and for, I think, some unknown utility conflicts, has already been exhausted. So I was just trying to make sure we've got a little bit more wiggle room on this project, because undoubtedly they'll probably need to do an additional amount of survey work, and I just don't have to keep coming back, so we just decided to bump it up 15% of $26,000.
Yes, I know it's not
Fairly
much,
paltry
I just
fund.
wondered.
But that's right, primarily because of the parent project, the contingency has been exhausted.
Okay, thank you.
And
Yes, sir.
if I may say that, I'm already thinking maybe using some of that contingency because we may, I'll coordinate with Bill, of course, but this may be something we want to take the time and bring back before you, and maybe have the engineer come, depending on how things go with the evaluation of the north
30%.
side
I agree.
and the south side, just to make you comfortable with one or tell you why we're able to do the one.
Any more questions?
Mr. Chairman, just a clarification for myself, I'm not sure I fully understood. Francis, you indicated that property along South Beach is that owned by the city of
City.
Jax Beach?
The city of Jax Beach.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but we don't own that land, so, and our land is so petite that it really can't do much other than like a bench.
That'll
So,
be the discussion, so
yeah,
public
so we can have that discussion, yeah. Yeah, so I would like to discuss that in our workshop. That's one of the reasons I am a big proprietor, or a big believer in maybe the sidewalk to the north side makes more sense, plus with the
We
intersection.
struggled with it, and hopefully we can,
I just
maybe
see
some
it.
road realignment.
That was my first comment to Mr. Moore when I saw the proposal, but I understand from an engineering standpoint why they're doing it, but we are gonna include at least a 30% vetting of the north side, and if we can do it, we can do it.
All right, so resolution in front of us, you're going to look to make sure, you're gonna check the second time to see if we can go on the north side or not, and if we can, you're gonna bring it back to us. And
I suspect I'll coordinate to bring it back either way, so you're not left wondering.
okay,
It could be just as a discussion item, progress report with the engineers, so
that's
we'll
fine.
do it like that. That would be a separate action item.
All right, so any other questions, comments, concerns? Do I entertain a motion to pass resolution 2020-01?
Make a motion.
And seconded.
Second motion. Motion carried.
Madam Clerk, if I get you to call the roll, please.
Gary Baytown,
Yes.
Samuel Hall,
Yes.
Jeffrey Jones,
Yes.
Francis Pulaski,
Yes.
and Art Graham.
Yes, Body asking you to approve resolution 2020-01. Thank you. Okay, any more new business, Mr. Mann?
No, sir.
Courtesy of Florida visitors.
I think we have one speaker card.
Yep. Come on down.
10 March 2011 Gale Avenue. Just want to touch base regarding personnel issues. I know that you've been waiting, I think, close to a year on the one person you were looking for, I believe, on compliance. But I want to set the stage here for introducing another person, a person that perhaps has as part of their responsibility event planning and possibly economic development. And the reason that I'd like to plant that seed with you and look at the feasibility of that is if you look at the plaza right now, that plaza is empty. That's an asset that's sitting, that's not making any money for the city. And if you look at it outside the weekends, oftentimes that sits empty. So how can we use that asset to feed the businesses that are all going to be part of the vision plan that we hope to have at the end of the year? So I know it takes time to get a person, but I want to start planting the seed with you that says, look, we've got this vision plan coming down the pike, we hope at the end of the year. We've got a wonderful asset in our downtown, and we can use that asset, Mr. Businessman, to help feed your business. So that, I think that's a concept that we ought to look at. And then the second part of that person would be economic development, because you get a vision plan, and then how do you sell that to investors? You want to take that vision and say, look, here's what we are going to become, let's call it 2040. And you sell that to the investor that says, look, we want you to be part of our community. And if you become part of our community, we're going to help you become successful, perhaps by using this event person to feed them with people. Okay, so again, economic development and event planning. You have a brand new building right now that's sitting vacant across from the pier. Okay, it's been sitting vacant for 4 or 5 months, I believe. Obviously, we're having some problems getting somebody in to fill that spot. That should be unheard of. Even though we do have the pier reconstruction happening, we've got basically a brand new oceanfront place that's sitting empty. So having an economic development person available to start filling these spots, I think would be advantageous to the city. So again, it takes time for this to happen. It took time. It's going to take you time to get this personnel for compliance. It certainly will take you time to get another personnel, but I again want to plant the seed so that perhaps you can start having the discussion. Once you get the vision plan, who's going to push it? How do you get down to the next level? Okay, it's nothing more than a piece of paper if you don't have anybody pushing it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Francis?
That actually, thank you, Ken. That actually brings up a question that I did address with the city a few months ago in regards to our shell, our bench shell, our building. Bill, who do we go and talk to? I found out, because I also believe that our shell should be utilized weekdays as well when it comes to events and what have you. We have Shakespeare in the Park. A lot of these different cities do daytime or weekday stuff, and they have local theaters, and they have the local schools utilizing their band shell and what have you. And when I inquired about it, they said it was $500 to rent it, which our schools aren't going to pay $500 to do it, and they're actually going to Jarbo Park instead, which I think is a shame considering that they pay taxes in our city for it. So I would think that it would be wise for us to say, yes, it's $500 if you don't live in the city to rent our space, but if you live in the city and you bring an educational type environment to the downtown area, then we would give it to you for like $1. Something, very, very small, or even free because they do pay their taxes. Who do I talk to? Because I went around with people, I got emails back, but I can't get any traction.
Our special events coordinator works in the Parks and Recreation Department. Her name's Kathy Butler. I don't know her number off the top of my head, but if you email me and remind me, I'll send you her email
Because I
address.
think I got an email from her. She's the one that told me how much it was to rent.
Right.
But I would like to know how we go about making, I don't think we as a CRA can make the proposal for them to change their policy on it, but who do we talk to address the policy for that?
Council as a whole can waive it when they choose to.
I believe it would be city council this week.
So would that be where each interested party would go to council and ask for a waive, or is it something?
They waived it for the art festival, they waived it for the
for you to say, you know, look, this is what you could do, you could put a proposal out there, you could go to council and plead your case, and then they would make a regular exception for you to be able to not pay the $500 fee, possibly.
I don't know how regular that is.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know that, that's
the
why I
only
was
times
curious.
I've seen it waived has been before the council as a whole. I don't know if the city manager's got the approval to do it himself, but
That's all I really wanted to know. Thank you for bringing it up, because it's been something I've been churning.
all right, so we're going to adjourn this meeting, and we're going to start a workshop in the next 10 minutes.
I did have one old business item.
You don't want to talk to her about it in the workshop?
It's not workshop related.
Let's hear your business.
I'm sorry. Bill, back in November of 2018, we did all that funding for the walkovers, for the ADA walkovers, and then we had the halt, and then we had the sea turtles, and then we had the halt. Where does that stand? Because sea turtle season is about to start again.
The 3 ADA walkovers are open to the public until they were constructed and measured in the field for fitting. The ADA require grass swales, which if you're walking on the boardwalk, they're not up here, they're down lower at wheelchair level. Those are custom fabricated aluminum. They're being fabricated right now. I believe that as soon as they're fabricated, they'll be installed. That's maybe a day or two's work.
And those can be installed even if sea turtle season's in.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Actually, the fabrication will, I believe that's all going to take place before sea turtle starts again.
I
Sea
just
turtle
want to make
season
sure
starts
that
again.
they're done and said, and, okay, I want to mark it right off my list.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of things.
Microphone.
I'm sorry, a couple of things. In the last couple of council meetings, there have been a number of people who have come forward and complained about the construction down on Second Street, First Street, 12th Avenue, 13th Avenue, and I believe that's one of the CRA projects, if I'm not mistaken. It's been very frustrating for those people down there. It's, to me, when I look at the logistics, it doesn't make sense. We're tearing up First Street before we even finish Second Street to allow a reasonable amount of traffic to travel down those streets. The streets are unpaved. It's a dust bowl down there. I think we need to take a look at how we do our projects and work at managing them a little bit better, because what those people have had to live through for almost 2 years is really unacceptable. I've never seen a construction project like I've seen down there, and it's been frustrating to a lot of people. They stood up at city council, they spoke about it, nothing has happened. It just kind of continues on. And as we move forward in the future, when we try to do these projects, I think we need to take some initiative and get some good scheduling and planning done. Along those same lines, Mr. Chairman, I've heard you talk about the condition of the downtown area, and I'll be very honest, I'm appalled at what I see in the downtown area. It's just not acceptable. The pavement is coming up, bathrooms aren't working, bathrooms need to be renovated, signage needs to be improved. There's just a whole series of issues, and being new on this board, I don't know who's taking the initiative to get these things done. We can't sit here and continue to wait. If Public Works is too busy to do these things, we need to bring a contractor on board, and let's just get them accomplished. You know, the roundabouts, they're falling apart.
We'll get into that also in the workshop.
Is that in the workshop schedule? I just didn't see it in here, that's why.
We're going to be talking about parking on First and Second. And then we'll be talking about the south end, and then we'll be talking about what Francis talked about putting a building, and then we can talk about what you're bringing up right now.
Okay. But
I'm just gonna respond to that. That's one of the reasons we need help. It's a compiled list that gets checked off, and that's one of the reasons.
And I totally agree with you, Francis, and I think one of the other positions that we ought to take